Hello, my name's Jenny and I'm one of the rebels in Extinction Rebellion Norwich and in Norfolk. And I also do quite a lot of work in the region in Extinction Rebellion. And also, of course, I am more than Extinction Rebellion, as is everybody. This whole thing about there being ridiculous. And why are they dressed in these sort of clothes and dancing in the street if it's such an emergency? Well, I'm just expressing myself. I'm just being myself. And look, we can take it off. And what are we left with? You know, take off all the things. I'm really interested in you expressing yourself. This isn't about me and Extinction Rebellion, really. This is about you. What actually makes sense to you? Let's see that. Let's have all the voices now. We need to hear all of them. This is not the land of special people anymore. This is the land of all people. So some of the things I've been wondering about, and maybe you have as well, you know, I wonder about this thing of the fact that there's something in us that wants to look away from this. I feel that in me as well. And you know what occurred to me the other day, and that is, perhaps it's the fact that we want to look away, you know, we don't want to see it, and we're kind of going a bit numb and from the despair, is that because we actually feel it so much, you know? So maybe the fact that we look away is the surest sign that something needs to stop here, something needs to change. Are things okay? I mean, really okay? Are they okay? Is it okay? And one of the things that I'm really interested in is us actually coming to our senses. We use this in our language, don't we? We say, you know, I came to my senses. So let's actually look at that. This is about coming to our actual senses, not as an idea, but as a lived experience. So when you are in the street and a car is belching out fumes, can you breathe? What are you coming to trust? And maybe you don't know yet, or maybe something's coming through to you. You know, maybe you can feel it in your body. Maybe you trust certain people and what they say. Yeah? So in amongst all this plethora of stuff, yeah? And I realise, you know, incredible, thanks to the scientists for giving this information, thanks to the people working on policy for giving us this information. But I'm really asking you, what in amongst the so many social media things, this included, yeah? Even when you're listening to me now, what happens if you tune out of my voice and you actually sense what's going on around you? What are you coming to trust? And maybe we might have to wait a while for that to come through to us. And I'm interested in that moment that we almost call a no-brainer, yeah? Where it's so clear, like your thinking and your feeling and your intuition and your sense of being together with people and being alone and your sense of community and your sense of education and farming and food. What happens when it all starts lining up and you go, yeah, that's it. I'm asking you, maybe you take action on that one. So also maybe I could respond to this sense of, yeah, but it's too late. That's what I hear people say, it's too late. It's too late to do anything. The tipping points are coming, you know, biodiversity loss, climate's heating up. I'd really like to respond to that with, it's too late for what? You know, me, myself, and maybe you as well, have experienced being with someone when they're really ill, or even maybe dying. And granted, there is a part of me that wants to like not look. I can feel it in me. I don't want to look. It's so despairing. But what happens if we do stay? Yeah? What happens if we do tend the planet, tend the people that we're with until our last moment, wet their lips, speak to them? What happens if we do that? You know, what legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to feel at the end of your life about what you've done or not done? So So why am I personally doing this? You know, like really, let's get really down to it perhaps. So when I was 10 years old, little Jenny was having visions. I was having visions. Okay, now that sounds a bit weird, but look, it was a 10-year-old. And I had this vision of people living underground, surrounded by all the plastic they'd used in their lives. Because at that time, we'd worked out that plastic wasn't biodegrading, but we were still using it wholesale everywhere. And I didn't understand. I was so confused. And I never told anyone about this until the April Rebellion, 40 years later. And so the reason I'm doing this is kind of to say, yeah, you were right, little darling, little Jenny. And any of those other little darling children out there, or any of you, because let's face it, there's always a little child in here, or there is for me. You know, if you feel that there's something weird's going on, I'm really glad that we're now speaking it. And so those little children don't have to feel like nutters anymore. Weird, strange, you know, seeing images of things. That's the main reason I think I'm doing this. And also just really wanting to say to you all, you know, so much thanks for everything you're doing in the world. It's so kind of you. Literally, I can feel like the tears coming up my throat as I even say that. I really appreciate what you're doing in the world. We're doing this together, aren't we? And sometimes I wonder, you know, if people feel that, you know, what we're asking for is more sacrifice. And in some ways, granted, we are giving some things up. But I think one of the messages I really have is, you know, like we might give some things up with this sort of new world that we're bringing about. But how much do we get? You know, how much more do we actually fill up when our behaviours and our values line up? And I realise that's hard in our society at the moment. You know, I want to be enabled by the policies to live a life that doesn't cost the earth. I don't know about you. And so my message is actually, no, this isn't about the same kind of sacrifice that we've been doing for so long, you know, long working hours, you know, like having to behave in ways that aren't really congruent to how we actually feel. So what we're talking about here is not the last thing being sacrifice, but actually the last thing being fullness of life. How about that?